Michelle Bachmann, she's a former presidential candidate, and she has things to say about Islamic supremacism. Yes, that's her words. Watch.
Well, it's a concept called Islamic supremacism. There are those within Islam who believe that they are superior to all other people. So they arrogantly look down their nose at any other faith or any other non-faith. And Islamic supremacism is really the answer here.
Remember what she said there. Islamic supremacism is the answer here because they have the superiority regarding their faith over other religions. This is a Christian lady that said Islam looks down on other religions, and she's in America. Okay, she went that route, and in case that wasn't ridiculous enough, she did continue on to say more. Watch this.
That's true throughout all of the history of Islam. It has been seen as a warring religion, and it's brought about great death and tragedy to many people. Even so, we pray for those who are from the Islamic faith that they would come to true faith, faith in Jesus Christ, and that's what we pray now.
That was all in the same 15, 20 seconds there. Islam is a warring religion. We're gonna get to that in a second. But what you did notice there is, we hope and we pray that those Muslims then come to the better religion, Christianity, seek out us. We pray for them to become more like us, the better, more pure religion. Sounds like a little bit of Christianity supremacism to me, but she called that Islamic supremacism. So it doesn't really matter as long as you pose things a certain way, your followers again will listen to you. Now about that whole warring religion, let's get to some of the details of that because I think she conveniently forgets that as well too. Christians have engaged in slaughter in the mission fields, inquisitions and executions, crusades against Muslims, and of course engaged in anti-Jewish oppression that ultimately led to the horrors of Auschwitz. That's from the Center of Theological Inquiry. So also during the early Roman Empire, Emperor Diocletian, he engaged in a persecution of Jewish folks. Yet by the end of the 4th century, which had begun with the so-called Great Persecution of Diocletian, Christian mobs were attacking synagogues with impunity. As the empire became increasingly Christianized in the 5th century, all non-Christians began to see their freedoms impinged as, to quote Hans Kung's biting critique, the church no longer remembered that it had once been persecuted. So conservatives also, you should probably take some note about this history about the Crusades that everyone knows. Maybe they don't know the details, but they do know that it was pretty violent. They also didn't know that they also targeted Muslims and Jews here. Let's look at some of those details. The Crusades are still a sore subject in the Muslim world, but it's easy to forget that the havoc they wreaked upon the Jews of Europe. Time after time, as Crusaders slogged southeast on their umpteenth trip to the Holy Land, they slaughtered Jews in their path. They herded them into synagogues and set the buildings alight. The Crusaders killed so many Jewish folks in the name of their Christian faith that it was the most stunning demographic blow to European Jewry until the Holocaust, which, just as a friendly reminder, happened in Christian civilized Europe only 70 years ago.
So I think what's most important about that is, you see, what Muslims did in war, that was for a fake religion. But see, the Christian Crusades, that was for the truth. That's the difference. But that's how they see it. You know what I'm saying? That's how they see it. Whatever their views are, that's the truth. Therefore, there can't be any type of supremacy because they're defending objective reality in their minds. But what's really interesting about, I mean, just talking about, which religion committed more atrocities, human beings are violent creatures. We war with each other, whether it was, through the Christian faith that did what they did, the Islamic faith that's done what they've done, or just people in general. Look what Putin's doing in Ukraine right now. That has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with conquest. It has to do with expanding his name and his empire. But the interesting thing again about this type of stuff, and that there's so many different ways to think about existence and God and life and the universe. But people who are too caught up in their version of whatever explains all that is, it's like, no, my way is the truth. Because like you said, within 20 seconds, she went from saying she's an Islamic, she's an Islamic supremacist. Jesus is the way. Jesus is the only way. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Well, there's the thing, as you talk about how humans will have this potential to get into wars and also try to have control and power. That's what some types of humans like to do. Now, they'll try to find any way to get to that point. That's why they'll use things like religion. It doesn't matter the religion. There's bad folks that misrepresent every religion. That's just the way it is because humans are bad people. It's why there's scriptures that talk about the false prophets and people who do things wrong are the first to be sent into pits of hell and things like that, because they're the ones that are misrepresenting what would be a pure good and supposedly something that's gonna help folks. Instead, they use it for their own benefit, as Michelle Bachmann does here. Because politics is definitely the driver for these types of things, 100%. And I think in America, we've exhibited that over and over and over again, because people will continue to fall for it over and over and over again from every level. So that's just the way life is here.